else. Show my screen.
Okay, that's much better.
So. You're in here twice. I'm going to.
Can I minimize that way?
If you click on that little horn there.
Thank you. Should be muted.
But mine's muted. Yeah.
It's not letting me click on it.
Excuse me. Okay, try to mute yourself. Okay. I think that works. All right. Can anyone on the call hear us? If you could raise your hand in the attendee panel, if you can hear us. We apologize for technical issues. Okay. All right. People can hear us. Yay.
Yay.
All right, I'm going to lower all the hands, and if you can raise your hand if you can see Jamie's screen.
I'm not Jamie.
There we go. Awesome. All right. We can hear him. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Jason says we can hear you and see you. Okay.
Thank you.
So good morning. Online, we have 12 people online. And then we have those are in the room. So I'm Pam Batchelor, and as you know, state DPI Canvas person, and very excited to have Jamie with us today to talk to you about Canvas. Christy has the flu. Poor Christy. We all say a moment for her. Hopefully the Tamiflu is kicking in and she's going to get to feeling better. If for the people online, please use the questions feature and go to webinar to ask us questions. If you wish to be unmuted, if you want to raise your hand in the attendee panel, we will unmute you, but I'm only going to unmute you if you raise your hand because I understand that you might be multitasking and we don't want background noise. So if you would like to talk at any point in time, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll be watching for that, but otherwise we're going to follow along. We do have a presentation today, and I'm going to type that in the chat for our online, but you can, for those of us in the room.
You all can navigate to that bit.ly if you want to jump into the slides. And while she's doing that, I'm Jamie Abram. I haven't worked with everyone just yet. I just started taking on some North Carolina accounts in the last couple of months, but I'm a North Carolina girl. I live in Zebulon. I've been here forever. So worked as an ITF in Franklin County schools before moving to Duke Tech for a while and then took the Canvas role. So I'm very familiar with North Carolina and just getting to know all of you, which is very exciting for me. So thank you for having me here today. The first thing that we wanted to do, my slides aren't going to move for me, are they? I swear I know how to use a computer. Don't be scared of me today. We'll take a moment to look through some of the upcoming home-based meetups. So obviously we're in the February rounds right now, and then in April we'll start again on the week of April 27th. So those are in the presentation as well. But Union County Schools on that Monday, then Guilford on Tuesday, Wake County Public Schools on Wednesday, and Beaufort County on Thursday. We'd love to have you join us then as well. Sorry, I moved fast. And then for our agenda today to talk about Canvas, what we plan to go through is a welcome and introduction where we'd love the folks online to join us as well. We'll take a moment to hear about what's going on in your district, what you might want to share out with us. And then we're going to talk a lot about support. So what that support cycle looks like, how to get tickets to Canvas and out of your queue, what that support flow looks like, and then also how to do some cool things with your support console, your field admin console, so that you can set up sort of some canned actions for you so that you don't have to retype responses to common things or take a common flow of actions, ways to set some of those things up for you. And then if time allows, we have some space for discussion around instructional design and organizational methods. That's something that came up as an area of interest. So we'll kind of have an open Q&A and dialogue around that. And the same with LTIs. So we can talk a little bit about what LTIs you're using, what you're looking for. And then we'll go through some product updates and reminders, and then any hot topics you have. This is a link, so if you have anything that you want to chat about today, anything that's burning, anything you're curious about, anything you want to see demoed, drop that in that hot topic section, please, and we'll take a look throughout the day. And if there's a lot before we go to lunch, then I'll make an extra amount of time when we get back. If not, then we will move through these. So if you don't mind, I'd love for us to go around and just say your name, what school or district you're with, and what is your favorite part of your current role? What is the best thing you get to do in work? Does anybody in particular want to start? Thank you.
Anita Martin, Wayne County Public Schools. My favorite part is helping people, helping teachers with Canvas or digital Canvas. Because they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do that. I used to. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm actually looking for the Lisa session. I don't see Candy.
I can walk you down. She's in a different.
I've seen it to every room.
Thank you very much. Anybody want to go next?
My name's Danny Cloud with National Rocky Mountain Public Schools, and I would do getting out of the office, not having to be there. I'm the director of instructional technology and virtual learning, and it's most of the time, but it's just bogged down with other stuff. When I can see, get out of the building and join with the teacher, it's much better.
Awesome.
I'm Marilyn Kennedy. I'm actually new to this role. I started on November 1st. So still trying to get my feet wet, learning it all, trying to absorb it all. One of my favorite things, though, same as Sandy, I hate being stuck in the office because I came from media center. I'm used to my babies. I'm used to my
Used to a flow of people.
I know, and my friend, my teacher friend, I miss that interaction. So my favorite part is when I get to go to the schools and interact with the kids and the teachers and, showing them new technology, new digital tools. I enjoy doing PD also, but it's better getting into the schools where I get to see all the teachers and the children. Thank you.
I'm Julie Urbanus. I'm the Northeast Consultant with Digital Teaching and Learning, and I love just providing support to the schools and districts in the region and ultimately the students. And I like having the opportunity to go into the schools as well and just seeing them. I was in the media center for 9 years, and I love the smaller kids are super sweet, and so it's nice.
I love it. They run to the library and they're out of breath because they ran.
Oh, they're so excited, yes.
And then they get middle school.
Yeah.
I have a 6-year-old making a report on what book she checks out. It's her favorite.
They're my favorite. First grade is my favorite.
I'm Cynthia Sartain, I'm the North Central Regional Consultant, and I also support NCYZ, and I use Canvas for the toolkit for teachers. So I have questions, and I think probably that's what I'm enjoying most right now. It's a huge challenge. It's been a challenge for the last year to get it into a better place.
Well, thank you all for sharing that. Would anybody online like to either in chat or unmuted share your information as well, your name and districts and your favorite part of your job?
If you want to use the questions feature to type in an introduction, or if you want to be unmuted, if you want to raise your hand, I'll unmute those that can talk. All right, so Jason is joining us from Cleveland County Schools. In my current role, I get to work with middle school robotics teams every now and then, and days with kids are always the best days. Will is here from Moore County Schools. He's a high school ITF and district admin for campus. Acacia is here from Union Academy Charter Schools. Her favorite part about the job is helping teachers grow and provide quality instruction. Darlene is here from Burke County. She is the ITF and district admin, and she enjoys working with the teachers and students to learn more about Canvas. We also have Elizabeth with us from Rockingham, right? Elizabeth, am I putting it right? Canvas district admin, and her favorite part is working with teachers and students from PD and Canvas Needs. Sarah is here from Deaf and the Blind Schools, working with students to access their classes is one of her favorite parts. And she's their district admin as well for the deaf and the blind. All right. Thank you for those virtual introductions for our virtual folks.
Thank you all very much, and thank you, Pam, for being
Yes.
Awesome. So the common theme that I loved hearing and all that is how everybody's favorite thing is something to do with like getting in the classroom and helping or getting with teachers and helping, which I think is amazing. And my favorite part of my role is doing that with you all too. I think a lot of people are worried to reach out or to ask for help around like training agenda strategies or things like that. We love that stuff. We miss the classroom, we miss the kids, we miss investigating your issues. So that's my favorite part too. Does anybody have anything going on in their district? Anything that you're doing or any projects you're working on and whatever your role is that you would like to share out? Anything cool going on? Anything your teachers are doing? Anything that you have tried or piloting and working through that you want to share out?
Like I said, I just started in November, but we have 2 ITFs in our district, and these girls actually applied and won the digital learning grant, one of the personalized learning digital learning grants. So that's been great for our county. We have implemented micro-credentialing through Canvas. We have about 30 micro-credential courses now, and so that's just now really getting off the speed. Teachers are starting to realize that they're available, so that's really doing well. And with that, we have 15 model classroom teachers that we were able to award a grant to. They receive devices, they receive PD, so we bring them in anywhere 4 to 6 times a year and do just personalized learning PD with them. So that's been really good.
Oh, that's great.
Changing the mindset of teaching.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have anything they want to share out?
We will actually have a poster at NC Tiles if any of you are there. Come see our poster.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, if nobody else has anything to share out, so I have horrible wait times. Christy and I share that. We don't wait long enough, so please interrupt and feel free to interrupt with questions along the way. Like, this is a discussion. I'm not talking at you. So if you have anything you want to share, did you have something? Okay. So one of the first things I want to kind of chat about is just what support packages look like in Canvas. So there are 3 different support packages that are options with Canvas. I've grayed out standard because North Carolina automatically moves you over to the 24/7 contract. So your contract includes that 24/7 support. So you're already getting that escalated support tier. And then there's the option of the tier 1 add-on. So I just want to kind of explain what the differences are in those. I won't go into standard because it doesn't apply to any of you, but I will call out that they only get 1 field admin and they take up to 2 business days to get a response, the initial response time. And they can only directly call Canvas from 6 to 6. So you definitely have much more access to Canvas support. But the 2 different tiers here, does anybody in here have tier 1 support? Okay, so I won't get too far into that either. But just to kind of review what access you do have to Canvas.
Will says they have.
Okay,
they have
okay.
one.
Totally forgot that. So I will go through the difference. So what tier 1 means is that initial support contact. So when a teacher first has a question or a staff member first needs help with anything, even if it's just locating something in their Canvas course, that's tier 1. So the main difference between 24/7 and 24/7 plus tier 1 is who manages those initial staff contacts. So for 24/7, that always goes to the admin. So all those tickets will go straight to you. For the tier 1, if you are a staff member, that will bypass your local support and go straight to Canvas. So your staff members never have to, things may come back to you if they're related specifically to your district, or if you've asked us not to help with certain things. But all those like general questions will just skip your queue and go straight to us. Students and parents will always go to you. We are legally not allowed to help minors and their parents, so those will always go to you, but the staff questions will come to us. And then in the ways that you can contact us, those are the same across. So you have a number, and I'll share it with you in a minute, that you can call 24/7 to get to us. There's a chat feature in your admin console, which you have not used. I highly recommend, because it's the immediacy of a phone call, but you can share links to the campus courses and exactly what you're talking about, screenshots, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. And then you can put in an admin console. SLAs is just the window of time we have for that first response time. So for 24/7, you'll get a response from Canvas within 8 hours. If you have the tier 1, you get it within an hour. And then in both cases, you get 3 field admins who can respond, who can contact Canvas on anyone's behalf and work through tickets. Any questions on any of those? So I think one of the biggest questions that comes up, I'm going to open this link, is when to contact support versus when to contact your CSM. I think sometimes that's a murky area. You can always contact us. Like, we'll tell you support if you need to. But also, like, how urgent is urgent? So what defines an emergency to Canvas? There's questions about how urgent the matter is. So we created this chart. I'm not going to read every detail to you, don't worry. But it kind of breaks down the different tiers of emergency. So an emergency, what is immediate, what needs to be handled immediately, is typically a critical issue that's impacting all users from even working in Canvas. So if authentication is completely not working and they can't log in, that's an emergency. You have a whole bunch of people who can't do anything in Canvas. If all courses are missing, they log in on Monday, there are no courses there. Obviously, that's inhibiting any work from happening. Those are definitely emergencies. Anytime you have an emergency, you always want to start with the support ticket, because they're the ones who are ultimately going to fix it. But then reach them or your CSM team and let them know what's happening too. Because we can do some help on the back end to make sure someone's on it right away, to move things, to skip that 1 hour, 8 hour time that you're waiting, and make sure that's getting through. Then there are urgent technical and urgent strategic. Here's where it starts to kind of branch off when it's us first. So if you have a technical issue like assignments aren't working, or the gradebook's not working, or there's something that's causing problems, but people are still in Canvas and active, you would still do, that would be support. I can't fix that. I would love to, but I cannot. They don't give me all that access. But again, feel free to contact us, send us your case number, and let us investigate on our end in case there is something that you can try or do in the meantime, or we can escalate it up the chain and make sure things are getting responded to. Strategic is something, both of these you'll see are like kind of time sensitive. You need something fixed in the next day or two. Strategic is when you need answers or help for something that comes only from your CSM. Like, you need some data numbers to take to the board tomorrow night because they just told you you need this report. That's something we'll get for you, and it's urgent, and you definitely want to let us know your time frame and how urgent that is. So that's something you come straight to us. Anytime you can share all of your questions, needs, details, anything you can put in that email to us, the better you'll get a response, because as you know, we're on calls throughout the day, and we're all really good at multitasking and internal meetings, won't tell. We may not be able to get on the call with you, but we can shoot you an email in a heartbeat. So we'll definitely investigate and get that back for you. So the more information you can give us, and with support that saves that back and forth, is super helpful. And then there are important things. So these are things that you want an answer to in the next few days, this week, before our next call, or before your next statewide call, you need some answers to. And again, they're broken up between technical and strategic. And in the same situation, you want to make sure that you're contacting support, but you're giving us as much information as possible so we can help you. And then there's non-urgent stuff that you just want to talk about next time. So that may be, if you only join us through the statewide calls, that may be sending something to that North Carolina address so that we can add something to the agenda, or just showing up on the call and giving that information. If you meet with the CSM regularly, you may just be throwing something on a shared agenda. Any questions about those? There's also some additional resources to help you navigate getting in touch with support. And then there's just some advice on what to include in your support ticket so that you get the fastest response. Because they're going to have to ask some general questions to investigate. And if you can give that to them right away, that SLA time is only based off their first response. So if they respond to you within an hour and and ask you 12 questions that you knew that you could have maybe put in the first email, that's your SLA. So after that, you're in the queue with everyone else. So the more information you give in the beginning, the faster you'll get work taken care of. Questions on that giant wordy document? Try to make it printable. Oh, sorry. All right. So then the next one is how to contact support. Does everyone in here know you have a phone number to call support directly? That's something we get feedback on occasionally. Like, I'd really love to pick up the phone and just call. And you can with 24/7 with any of them, but with 24/7 you can call anytime. So if you do have the 24/7 support, that is your phone number for calling. Any time of day, any day of the week. If you are tier 1, you have your own specific phone number. So in that Canvas help menu, you'll see your phone number there. So you have your own unique number to use. But that chat feature, and we'll look inside the admin console in a few minutes. That chat feature, as I mentioned, is a really quick way to get the same benefit of phone, but also be able to share resources. And then there's the going through the admin console to submit a ticket. How many in here are field admins for their? Okay. All right. So these are the workflows for what happens to a support ticket once you submit it, and it includes your role in it. So whether you're a field admin or not, this is information that will impact you understanding what goes on with your ticket and what takes time. So the user, this is for standard and 24/7. And it's also for any student and parent, because as we mentioned, our tier 1 doesn't impact them. So the user would file a ticket in Canvas through that help menu and reporting a problem. Service Cloud is now the admin console. So this information, or the console, will be processing that ticket, and it will assign it out to a field admin. So that's not something you have to do. If you have a dedicated field admin listed with us, and if you don't know, ask your CSM or team. If you have a dedicated field admin, that person will always get the email. So that's just what that item means. The other option is round robin, which means if you have 3 field admins and you do not have one that's dedicated, just alternates who gets that email. So it just spreads out, spreads the love. So one person isn't doing it all. So it just depends on what's right for your district. So if you feel like you're getting all the emails you're not supposed to, touch base with your. So then your field admin goes into the admin console, responds to the ticket, and the console emails that back to the user. So as the field admin, when you're working the ticket, those responses will go back out. Sometimes it loops for a little while, or you respond to the email, the field admin works again, and you keep going back and forth until you get it resolved. But once it's resolved, the field admin is the one who closes the ticket. Any questions on that one? Those are for ones that field admin can solve. Sometimes there are ones that the field admin can't solve. And so when that happens, same thing, the user puts in the ticket, it gets processed into the field admin. If they cannot resolve it, they escalate that ticket to us. So sometimes we get the question of, Canvas hasn't responded in a few days and we really need help, and we look at it and it's still in the field admin queue. Because sometimes if you don't escalate that on up to us, we don't see it. And I'll show you that and what it looks like in your console. So when you escalate that ticket up to us, then our L1 jumps in. That's our level 1 tier support, or level 1 support from Canvas. Then they resolve the ticket and respond back and send that through. So if you can't resolve it, but you still get the field admin still gets copied on anything and the user. So pretty much you now get to be an observer on it getting finished. You no longer have to have a role unless you get tags back in by support. All right, the difference in the tier 1 workflow. So as we mentioned, this is for staff. So in this case, the user files the ticket, it gets processed, and it skips you, and it goes to the level 1 support. They respond to the ticket, and then it comes back. So the field admin doesn't even get notified. You're just not even worried about it. Those are the ones that our team can solve. For the ones we can't solve, and this doesn't mean like technically can't solve, we're not allowed to, because you all have the right to. Yes, sir.
When you have a second, Sarah would like to know if you can show where the admin console is.
Absolutely. We're going to do that next. We'll go through that. Absolutely. So the next part, if they can't solve it, meaning that you've asked us not to, so you may not want Canvas creating courses for your teachers. You may not want Canvas to reset a user password, a student password. Those are your decisions. So if you've said, please don't do that, then the user will file the ticket. It'll be processed by us. Our support will receive the ticket, and then we'll do whatever the case says. So if you're not familiar with that term, it's a knowledge base. So it's what it's where you're able to tell us what you do and do not want Canvas to take action on. And it also allows you to submit a response. So if you're tier 1 and your staff member is asking for a course created, we'll put whatever text you tell us to and send that right back to your teacher course, whether that's routing to another person or what. Any questions on that part? So for the, I would love to give you a tour of the admin console, and I have 2 options for this. I don't have an admin console because we don't have support. I don't get support console. So I can't show my own. I can either show screenshots, or if somebody would be okay with me logging in to their admin console on the back end, I can do that too. I have access to that. I just don't want to do that if no one's comfortable. So I'm happy to go through this with screenshots as well. All right.
I don't, if you want to show mine, I don't care.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think I have any student info in
I'll
mine.
just share my screen so I can share everybody's screen. Is that under NCT? Yeah. Start All right. All right. When you go into your, is that okay?
They're doing this.
I'm still muted, right?
Maybe go to the no audio. If you go into your, wait a minute, it stopped?
I think so.
Okay.
Excuse me, folks. First go meeting, everyone. First go meeting. All right, so this is what your admin console looks like. This is the new one. So if you've been using the classic one, highly recommend this one. So when you come in here, if you're creating a new case, that's this button right over here. You'll go there to create a new case. And I can walk you through what that looks like. But you also have all these items across the board. So cases are where you would go find all of your open cases, and we'll look at that as well. So if I'm creating a new case, and there's a video right at the beginning that kind of walks you through how to use it too, which I think is helpful now. But it doesn't look drastically different than the other options. So either way, you add your subject descriptions where you put as much information as you can cram in that field that will save you back and forth. Your user perceived severity is a nice new add, but you choose where you think this lands. So extreme critical emergency, like we said, it's definitely like no one can get into Canvas, everything's down. If you're putting in extreme critical emergency because you don't know where a button is, eventually you're going to start falling down in the queue. So make sure that you're marking that carefully. But then it kind of breaks down where you need to be on these different items. Again, it's not a big deal if you pick the wrong one. It's just your perceived, how important it is to you. The description field, though, as much as you can tell them about the issue, but also as much as you can tell them about how much it's impacting. If you say, this course is not working, course is down, no one can access it. To them, that means, okay, maybe 20, 30 kids in the whole district are impacted. We'll get to that as soon as we can. If that happens to be like a PD course on a PD day and your entire faculty is sitting there waiting for it to start, it's a completely different impact. So as much as you can share about that, the better they'll be able to respond. And then there's a little button you can't quite see for some reason, but it's actually square on my screen. But there's an escalate to instructor button. So as you're putting in this ticket, if you want it to go straight to us, you push that button or click that, check that box. Once a case is open, so maybe this is an open case that's coming in, and maybe it's something that I can't solve. So when I open this case, I work through it, and I need to send it up to Canvas. This is not something I, as a field admin, can fix. There's a case actions button over here, and from there I can escalate to Canvas support. So any case that's been sent to you by any user, you can escalate on up to us. You're still the contact for that. So that's student cases, parent cases, what have you. You're escalating that up to us. You can also down here apply macro, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I just want you to remember where that is. Any questions on that, on how to get it done? When you go under escalate, I'm not gonna say. When you go under escalate, it's gonna ask you a lot of questions. Summarize the issue. Because you're escalating it on up to us, it's the same as when you put it in originally. So they want just a quick, like, call it TLDR, how too long did it read? Like, what's just the quick, what happened? Because you may have had 6 or 8 back and forth with a teacher. It's gonna take them forever to work through. So what happens? Any links that you can send or steps you can take. If you've already tried an incognito browser, clearing your cache, you've already tried restarting your computer or logging out back in. Those are great things to tell support because those are the first things they're going to tell you to do. So any troubleshooting that's been done, anything else that might be helpful. And again, if you don't have time, this is just super urgent, you just need it done. You do not have to spend forever answering this. But the more detail you can get here, the faster you're going to get a response. Or the faster you'll get it resolved. They'll respond quickly, but they might can fix it in the first response otherwise. Any questions on any of that? And then every screen I've been in has this little button here, so I can chat directly with support. So if I'm over here looking at this ticket and I think I know what to do, I'm not sure, before I respond, you can chat with support and just say, is this the correct way to handle this case? Is this the right answer to give? Or it'll open a new case or it'll tie it to that one. But you can jump into support here and work through that with them in chat. And you will get a chat transcript. So you'll still get a case in your console. It'll still have a case number. So if you chat for a little while and then they go to do further investigation, it'll just drop in like any of your cases. If they resolve it, it'll drop in like a solved case. So you'll still have access. You can still send it to your CSM if they need follow up. And you'll get a transcript, or yes, a transcript of anything that happened in chat. So unlike the phone where they'll summarize the issue, you'll get the actual transcript. It's just helpful too. Any questions on where any of that stuff is in here? If you are tier 1, this customer KB or knowledge base, you would then go into your actual account, and I won't go into it, but you would select your account and then you would share anything you wanted to tell us. So it might be, the scenario is a teacher requests to add a new course and your response is no, we can't. You'll have a field yes or no, and then you can tell us what response you want to send back. And it may be contact Campus Health at Wake County Public Schools. It might be no, just no, you cannot do that. Whatever response it is you want to say, if you whatever verbiage you type out if a teacher asked you, we will send for you. All right, and then there's some reporting option in here too. Any questions on any of this part? No, reports briefly. So reports will let you basically go through and see like this is everything put together, but you can look at affected Canvas components. So it'll break down our report by what people are reporting a problem with. So you can see if they're constantly talking about not knowing to do the grade book or Power School sync. And then case by last status, so you can see what's been coming in the last 30 days, those kinds of things. So you can run a lot of reports in the background too. All right. No other questions about the actual console itself? Okay. Anything online?
Let me look online. All right, so Sarah Vanis from, she's having issues. She says she's getting a 404 error when she's trying to go to her admin console.
I would try doing that. If you haven't already, I would do it in an incognito and make sure you're logged in Canvas first, which you probably are. But if you are not in Canvas, go in a private browser in incognito, log into Canvas, open a new tab, and log into the console. If that works correctly, it's just a caching issue, so you probably will have to clear your cache. If that's not working correctly, please just put in a support ticket.
Okay.
It could be that your user isn't properly set up as a field admin, but it's likely the caching. Any other questions on your end? Okay. All right, so this one is it's a explanation of the ticket status. And this one confused me forever, so that. Because you have a lot of different things that your case may come back as, and pending versus open versus on hold all have different meanings. And the most important thing about that is who owns the case in the moment. So I think that's the most critical thing to take away from this. So if it's blue, Canvas Support is owning it at the moment, and they are responsible for the next action. If it's red, you are owning it at the moment, and you're responsible for the next action. And then if it's green, there will be no further action unless you reopen the case. So if it says new in your console, it says new next to it, and it's escalated to us, then that means that Canvas Support has not touched it yet. So if you have a ticket in with us and it says new, no one has opened it. Open means that it has been opened and at least one response come to you, whether that's a request for more information or a suggestion on something to try. But this open and a response has come out to you is what has to happen in that SLA time we talked about. Once that happens, pending means if it says pending, the case has been addressed and the response has been sent. And they are waiting on you. So like if you were supposed to give them more information, or you're supposed to try something, or you're going to fix this issue in some way, or there's something they need from you, it's going to say pending. If you don't respond in 7 days, it moves to solved. It just automatically in the background clears out of the queue. So keep an eye out. If you've got a ticket going with support, keep an eye out for that pending, because that means that they need you. Then on hold means that it's been addressed by a technician and then it's been escalated further for investigation. This is usually a bug, or if there's some issue going on in Canvas that they're working to resolve, they'll move it to on hold. So that just means maybe it's coming out in the next app release, or it's something that is a feature that they're working through. If that is the case, if it's a bug, you will get your ticket tied to that issue, and you get updates as we make updates. So if they have it out for testing, or it's in beta or whatever, you'll get those notifications so you can keep up with the issue.
Darlene has a quick question.
Yes.
Did the old tickets transfer over? She said.
Yeah, they're all the same. It's
gonna be
more
all in there. It's just
it's more the look and the layout of it. But yes, that's a good question. They're all there too. And then solved means it's over. It has been resolved. The issue has hopefully been solved to everyone's liking. But as I mentioned, it also just happens if it's stayed in pending for a week. So hopefully solved means everyone's happy now. And then closest duplicate just means that they're multiple of the same thing. So a teacher may put it in the ticket, and one field admin escalates, and the teacher puts it in again, and another field admin escalates, and they're all the same issue. They will close out all but one in time. What questions do you have around these? It made more sense to y'all than it did to me. It's mainly that pending one, and I think the pending and the on hold get tricky right through there. All right. So the next one, next thing we were going to talk about is macros. Is anybody familiar with that term or created any in your console? Okay, cool. So macros are essentially canned responses, but with workflows attached to them. So a macro may be that I want this response sent to the user. I want the ticket escalated to Canvas, and I want it moved to the status, whatever. So you are allowed to kind of set all those items up, and then in that console where I was showing you to escalate to Canvas, if you hit apply macro, you just select that macro and all those things happen. The response goes out, it escalates to Canvas, whatever items you set up. So it really saves a lot of time for those common occurrences.
If you want to set one up in my account, I have a scenario.
Yes, I would love to. I will absolutely do that. All right, we'll just do it. I'll talk about what's there and we'll do that, absolutely. Because we're going to create one together. So under your macros, if you're following along, you go to the new, and these are mainly here so you have the directions later. Wrong way. Sorry. So you'll create the new macro, and then it's going to ask all these questions that are super hard to read right there. So hopefully they're a little better on your slides. And there's a guide link to this as well that has the same information. But essentially you're going through, you're naming your macro, you're choosing the account if you're associated with multiple accounts, or even if you're not, you should choose one. It may be transfers if this case is supposed to then transfer to a designated field admin. If every time anything about PowerSchool comes up, you want this one field admin to handle it so that they have a very specific focus, you can do that. Status, what status you want to come out of the case, like if you want it to automatically stay pending when it comes out, so that if you're sending something back to the user, it's in pending status, they need to fix that. What component section, so if it's this issue, or if it's about gradebook or anything like that. And then the component affected, so typically it's just core Canvas. And you don't have to fill in all these, a lot of these are optional. And then the issue, so that's definitely something you want to fill out, because that's describing the purpose behind this case creation, like what happens that made this case come up. And then the chatter comment is a response you want to give to the user. So it's whatever you want your canned response back to be. Any questions on that in general? And then you'll save it, or you'll save and start another one. And then once it's done, it's super hard to read up there. I'm sorry, it's easier to see on the screen, I think. But that's what it'll look like for you once it's complete. So you still have the edit option, delete, and clone. So if you want the same exact macro, but for teachers that you just made for students, you just clone it and tweak a couple words. And like I mentioned, when you go in under case action, you'll hit that select macro and then get a drop down to pick which macro you want to take place with it. All right, so we'll do PAMs in just a second. But what are some scenarios that you could think of where this might be helpful? Do you have any that pop into mind for your specific use case or your district?
Students create their own inappropriate cases.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
You don't say.
Yeah.
That's really hard to believe because sure they're not middle lines. So you have a kind of a canned response? Do you have resources?
No,
that you
I
send
didn't
out?
know that I hadn't gotten that far, so just be honest.
So it's just start, yeah. So yeah, that's a great place to like send them back to whatever code of conduct, digital citizenship, whatever agreements they may have signed along the way also. So that's a good way to have this already plugged into. Great example. Anybody else have any that you can think of that would be excited to your games? Do you want to share what yours is?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a red instance of Canvas, which is your local instance, and then we have a blue instance of Canvas, which is MCDPI's instance, right? So I frequently get tickets on the MCDPI instance about their sections or courses that they're using for teaching in their red instance.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love a macro that I could just click and say, please contact your local Canvas admin because you are referring to the red or your local instance of Canvas. You're not going to be teaching your Spanish 1 courses from the blue instance of Canvas. And then that's another question too, is that we get a lot of how do I teach a course within Canvas, within the NCDPI Canvas, because their district doesn't have Canvas. So they're asking if they can use the NCDPI version, which that won't work just because it's not synced to your instance, to PowerSchool, and all those things. So any one of those would be good.
Perfect. Do anybody online have any suggestions of things that
Yeah, no, nobody
times they
yet.
might use them? Okay, well, drop them in if you think of them because it'll help us all brainstorm.
Yeah.
All right, so let's create PAM's macro. And then I'll give you all a chance. We'll do some hands-on so you can create one in your own instance. Or if you are not in an instance, if you want to partner with somebody who is. But we'll go through one together first. I just lost my place because I closed you out. No, I didn't. Okay. So we'll go under macros. Oh, your knee's hidden by the. All right, I hid you with the meeting stuffs. All right, so we have new. What would you like to name this?
I don't know. Red versus blue?
Perfect. And that's an internal name. I should mention that too. Like that's your
Okay.
name that helps you understand. I mean, you should still be nice about it, but that's the
Right.
name that helps you understand. All right, so we selected the account. Do you want to transfer that to any particular field admin?
I don't think so because it's going to be different depending on who the teacher is that's requesting it, right?
And status on this, do you want that solved?
Yes.
Okay. So that's another great thing. It'll just, you click that macro, it closes the ticket out, and you just take it back. Okay. And then I would likely in this case not worry
Yeah.
about the components because it's all kind of user in this situation. You can list things out there.
Right.
And then, would you like to type a response? I can type, I'm a
Yeah.
horrible typer, but I'll type. for
You
you.
type.
All right.
Thank you for reaching out. It sounds like you might be confused between the red local instance of Canvas and the blue and CDPI instance of Canvas. The blue and CDPI instance of Canvas is for teachers across the state to participate in professional development courses. Please reach out to your local Canvas admin regarding courses that you teach. Okay.
Is that ready?
Yep.
All right, somebody should test her. Somebody should let her try it. If you want to submit a ticket to Pam about getting into that, she can practice. But so that's now a macro in there for her. So when I go to macros, I'm now going to see this one listed. At any time, I can jump back in and I can edit it, clone it. I can also, on any ticket, as I mentioned, I can go into a case. It should be there now. Let's double check. All right, so I could red versus blue macro that one. It will solve the case for me. It'll send that response. I'm over it. I will not do that because that has probably nothing to do with this. Maybe it may be exactly right, but I'll ignore it. Any questions on how to do a macro? Okay. Do you have one that you can think of that you could go ahead and do in your district or in your instance? Perfect. So I'd love for you all to play, even if you don't save it or use it, I'd love for you to play with putting one in there. So if you are not a field admin who would like to be with the field admin who is, you're welcome to if somebody wants to. And you two are not, is that correct? Okay. And folks online too, I'd love for you to be putting in a macro if you have a moment to do it. I know I have to multitask on these days, but if you're able to put one in now, so you can ask me questions along the way, I'd love it. This direction should be in there. Can't think of when Cam needs to put in. Help her. And while you're working, I see we have one hot topic on there. If you have any others that you can think of, the folks online too, if you have topics that you want us to address or talk about, please do drop them on that sheet.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
Do. And so it may work out because I know there were some folks over in SchoolNet that want to come this afternoon. So if you,
You do the same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
it might just work out to to just flip.
I'm not sure that's what I can do. And I think some things in here.
And they can go over there.
All right. Everybody still working on putting one in, or are you still playing? Russia.
So just as simple as I've received your request and I'm working on finding a solution.
Absolutely.
Just so you know, I'm working on it. I got it, working on it.
Right.
Whatever would save you time.
Yeah.
Anything would save you time.
Mhm.
Or even like, I think a very common one is just students who have a question about like, I don't understand this assignment, or I don't know how to do this thing that's clearly not you. Like just pushing them back to their teachers might be a good use of these. But is it- 'cause you can
That's
solve it
another
right
one I'm
away.
going to create too,
Mhm.
is about people will put in a ticket about a link being missing or something on a course. And I'm like, I'm not the course designer, so I don't know about the course. So
Yeah.
please reach out to the facilitator and let them know you're having this issue.
Yeah, I think students.
I try as much as I can. I'll try to go into the course and see if I can figure it out for them, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, as you can tell from my case backlog, there's been, it's been a little while since I've had any time to dig in.
We used to have it when I worked with the tip. We did a troubleshooting flow chart of
Mhm.
just the basic, like, I'm sure you'll have something similar. Because we only use Chrome browser, but have you tried clearing your cache? Have you tried logging out back in? Have you tried blah, 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 restarting all the way down to like then where you go? So this is a macro that we set up that was just that canned response going out to students when they would ask, like, I can't log in. To what, but whatever. Can't log in. So you just send that troubleshooting guide back.
Canvas doesn't have a link checker.
It does, and of course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So on the settings page, I'm checking.
It does. It'll tell you.
Now, I will preface this by saying that it checks broken links, not incorrect links.
Right.
We've had issues where very educational websites have become very not educational websites. And
Absolutely.
the links,
Mm-hmm.
those, so it, those, it won't catch that, of course. It's right, needs to be right here. Link validator. So right there on your settings, there's the validate links in this course. It's my test course, who knows what you'll learn. And then it'll go through and look for any broken links.
We don't have any broken links into DPI.
Here's what we're doing.
we just had a new website, so a lot of our stuff, unfortunately.
And it will, you can also have, it'll show links to unpublished content. So if you have a link to another course, like a public course, and it's not published, it'll check this for you too. All right. Any questions left on macros? Are we doing okay? Folks online doing okay?
Folks online are good.
All right. Are y'all ready to move on? You want to hang out for a minute? Okay. So there is a chunk of links to various guides, and those items like the urgency and escalation scale is linked in there. So most of those are all linked in the slides. And then there's some additional guides here, just for your resources. This was a question or a topic that came up as something that people wanted to discuss in these home-based meetups. So I don't have an agenda around this because we weren't really sure what really people wanted to know or ask or talk about in this area. So I'm opening the floor. So if anybody has questions, comments, areas they wanted to talk about, if you want to see what someone else is doing around these areas of organization methods or instructional design, and that can be whatever it means to you.
So that's a process I'm trying to begin with.
Okay.
It's our first year, other than just a couple of schools that are all middle school and high school. And we had some new vendors for resources and things, and a couple of them had some common cartridges that they created for us.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the rest of them are kind of shooting from the hip, and so we did, and that's kind of my summer project, to try to create some blueprint courses or something that's relative to our district. So I looked at the templates that Canvas offers, trying to do it without spending any money, just being honest. So,
Oh, absolutely.
so it was just kind of in the process. So anybody that's in the middle of that and share some info, that'd be great.
Okay. there anybody who's done some templating, created some of those in-house, who has some suggestions to share out online or in person? Okay. So I assume when you're looking at those templates, you're looking through the modules to see how they're set up. Perfect. Also, looking at free options, there are a lot of stuff, especially home pages on Commons. I think there's a lot of great free resources, and I think for a lot of people, if that home page directs them where they need to go, they're okay. The back end stuff's a little less noticeable, especially for like middle school and elementary school, having really easy ways in on the front. So I would suggest that if you're looking for free resources or things that you can, with the R&D.
Or awesomeness.
We'll go with that. So yeah, things that you want to reuse or borrow from and change. I think that's a good place to start. In terms of templating structure, or things that you all can think of that have helped you for those who've used them online as well.
So Jason chimed in that the templates really help teacher designers.
Good.
And having that model of the template really helps in general.
So, and we can look at the back end of one of our templates to kind of get a starting point too. I remember where I stuck them. I have a couple of bookmarks, probably should trim those down. So these are our ready-made template suite that he's referencing if you haven't seen it. So these are the templates that are for sale. They're $1,000 each. I'm not pitching them, just telling you what they are. So there are a variety of different ones for different areas. So if I'm looking at a secondary set, there are a number of different templates. When you get these templates, you get these what are called assets. So you get the images, you get the buttons, all those types of things already set up in your course for you. But as you know, you then also have to make sure people know what to do with those cute little images that are buttons and where to link them and what to do. So the templates have some, go in the module section, they have a lot of directions. So if you're the template administrator, you should look at this part first. If you are the teacher, don't publish these, but these are some things you should know how to do. And it shows you how to use the icons, the banners, the buttons, those sorts of things. So it kind of walks through what icons are in here for you to use, how to add the banners and those sorts of things. Even has some directives with HTML. I would definitely recommend, if you're going the template route, if you're not doing something that, if you're not linking all their buttons for them and doing all of that, which I'm sure you're not, maybe you are, it's hard to say, but if you're not doing all of those homepage link outs and everything in between, that you're providing directions for that. I think it's one of the biggest things, because those buttons are great, but if they don't know that when they copy it, that they have to link it using the link option in Canvas, not the URL, or it breaks next year and some things like that, and it's going to make it a little harder for them. So making sure that the directives are there, I think is really important. People tend to hyperlink with the URL. It's natural. So if I'm linking to an assignment, I might grab this up here. Do you guys know what I mean by the link on the edit page? Okay. Mm-hmm. So by using that link option, some people may not think of that. So I think tips like that, a lot of people have really great ideas for year one, like how to get those templates out, how to get people using them, sharing them all out, because it's blank slate. So I would definitely recommend thinking about year 2 and 3. What does the copy look like? What do they do in year 2? Do they copy that whole course back over? Is all that still going to work? If you update the template, how are they going to get those updates? Those sorts of things. I think that's super helpful to consider as you're looking through it.
So Jason just kind of explained that they're making a lot of their own in-house templates. And they're, templates that include things, the mastery paths and question banks for pre-assessments that they're doing for courses for credit recovery. So a lot of good work that Jason's doing out there in Cleveland County.
And there are benefits to doing blueprint courses, and there are benefits to doing them set up as a Canvas course that you copy. So if you are not already, if you're meeting regularly with a CSM, that's something I would definitely talk to them about. If not, I would request a call to the CSM to kind of talk through those things, because that's definitely, there's no right and wrong way, but there are benefits and challenges to both. So if you are doing blueprint courses, you have to keep in mind that each individual page or assignment is either locked or unlocked, which means either you control every word on that, or you don't control any of them. So there are things like that when you look long-term, that if you want to update and overwrite, you can't overwrite a meet the teacher page if the teacher's already filled in the page, this kind of thing. So that's something to definitely think through and talk through. Any other words of advice or questions, things to try? I think navigation is a huge thing to think about when you're doing your templates too. So thinking about what that workflow looks like, and some of the districts I have working with them, the elementary workflow is the hardest part because teachers have different ways at it. So some teachers want students to go in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Some teachers want them to go in math, reading, so thinking through those things, so having options is helpful too. All right. Anything else that would be helpful to discuss this or anything? Okay. LTIs is another one that came up. Are there any specific questions around this? Would it be helpful to see how to find LTIs and how to add them? Are there specific use cases that people had in mind? Maybe nobody in this room brought it up, but do you have questions around them?
I have any questions about the additions, if anybody has any they're using particularly, like a lot.
Yep.
I'd be curious to see that.
Who has some LTI? What LTIs are we using? Are people using Google? Are you using Google Drive? Is anybody using the new Google assignments?
Within the external tool, the assignment, yes. You mean, in terms of, using it where you can distribute to every student?
There's a Google Assignments LTI that's the newer. I should have changed. It works very similarly.
The classroom.
Yeah,
It makes the copy and puts their name on it.
it does a lot of what the Google Drive LTI does. Like, it doesn't lose that functionality, but you can actually like do rubrics and grading in assignments and have it push back to Canvas. You can do canned comments in a paper. So if a teacher is in Google and they are always saying, don't forget to add this to your thesis statement, then they can do that. They can reuse that comment on future students' work. It's in a library for that. So there are things like that that assignments will allow that are different. Eventually, that will be Google. This is Google's LTI. Canvas created the Google Drive LTI. Google is creating the Google Assignments LTI. So eventually, that will be the single source of truth. Right now, they can work next to each other. If the Google Assignments LTI is something you're interested in, that is a beta product right now that has been beta for a while, and a lot of people are using it super successfully. So I wouldn't say it's a super testy beta, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like it's working very successfully. But if that is something you're interested in, I'll add the link on this. Just real quick, give me a second. But there is a link that you would need to use to get in.
Another favorite LTI that's being shared while she's pulling that up is Flipgrid, and I second that. If you, the LTI for campus courses is really smooth and slick, and Flipgrid is just a great way to get folks talking or share.
All right, that did not do what I wanted it to do. Okay. So Flipgrid, what else are we using? Does anybody use the Microsoft one? Oh, dirty word.
Can you show us how to put Flipgrid on there? How do we do something like that?
Is that something you have set up? And I don't.
That would be my next question. Both of those, are they global, like it's set up at the district level, or they have the teachers, some of them, depending on what they are, the teachers have to do it, have to have the shared secret and all that themselves. Some of them can do the district level. Do you know about these two? What is their?
So Flipgrid, you go into your account. So I set up a free, Flipgrid account,
Right.
and then you can go in and
From
do
the
the.
account they give you shared.
It is.
And you can add it at the course level as long as the teachers have
As the
access
course
to that.
levels, right.
Okay.
Some other ones that were that Jason shared was the CK12 for online textbooks, and then also how do you say this? I'm not sure how you say it, but GeoGebra. It's a math add-on for being able to do like tessellations and illustrations and like the coordinate plane and things like that. You can embed that into it. And I don't know if you say it GeoGebra or GeoGebra. It's a cool math.
It is. Any others that people are using and enjoying?
Jason says that he also just avoids saying it. Glad to know I'm not alone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I used to say it. Does it do it for- I don't know. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. It's hard to say. Literally. It's hard. All right. And everyone's aware of where to go shopping for LTIs in that Edu App Center. Do you know about our partnership link to find partners LTIs from Canvas versus, okay, I'll show you that too. So there's nothing like super vetted or special about our partnership link, I should say. I'll just type it in, hold on. These are, in order to be a partner with Instructure, they have to ask to be a partner with Instructure. They have to provide us with contact information. And that's mostly the extent. We don't like vet them. It's still like any other third-party source you use. You have to make sure they align with your requirements and your needs. But what's nice about this group is they are committed to working well with Canvas, and they're asking to be promoted through Canvas. So that's a relationship that's important to them. They're very good about applying our releases and our updates and those sorts of things so that the LTI continues to function well. Some of these are free, some of these are paid. It just depends on what you're looking for. But you could type in by specific user. So I can type in and look up Respondas, or I can go down and look through product categories. There are all kinds of categories in here that I can search through. So again, there's a lot of the same LTI or same things that you're already seeing. In some cases, these are not LTIs. They are just integrations or things that can be embedded well in Canvas, or like the lockdown browser is not an LTI, but it works well in Canvas. So they're not exactly the same, but it's a good place to go to look for things. If you're kind of torn between which one to try on any third-party tool in something you want to use with Canvas, it's a good place to start. So you can make sure that what you're using works well with Canvas.
Quizlet is another
Oh,
shared
yeah.
favorite LTI.
I like that one's going away. No, okay, we'll find it out.
Assignments was global. And you said about.
Assignments, flip grades individual, but or it's at the teacher level, but the assignments you can do, I think, globally.
I like the Quizlet LTIs going away, so I'm gonna put that out there, but I'll take it off.
Oh, that would make me sad.
I know,
They're
for
good.
some reason that's bouncing in my head. I'm like, I heard that the last week. Where did I hear it? So I'll look it up. I'll see if I can find it. And if it's true, I'll take it off. If it's not true, I'll leave it up there and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other LTIs online? Anyone? Thank you, Jason, for all this. All right. So sorry, got bad wait time again. So product updates, release notes. I'm going to go through, even though the March one's just released, we're going to talk about the February's. We hesitate to push too much about the March ones until we get about the future one until you're about a week or so out, because sometimes this week can change. So I won't confuse matters by telling you too much for the ones that are in March, but there are some cool ones around the event, I will say, like auto save coming out for rich content editor. So there's some cool things around. So for the February release notes, does anybody have any questions on any of those? Is there anything you'd like to see demonstrated? Are you comfortable with the new analytics? Are you comfortable with the new quiz workflow, that button? Anybody online have questions? Okay. I know you see these in the statewide calls and you talk about them with your CSM, so I don't want to go through things and you read them on your own. So I don't want to bore you with things you already know, but I just want to check in and see if you have questions on them. All right, and if you did not see, I know that you all got an email about the new analytics being enforced in March. They've actually pushed that to July so that it doesn't disrupt the school year. So that will now be a July release. All right. So we do, I think we have some comments. Good, we have a couple, thank you. So we'll go through, I think Pam and I were just chatting, I think we're likely, we're at the end of what we had to talk about today. So I think likely we're just repeat the session in the afternoon, which will give you the opportunity to go. A couple of you have mentioned wanting to get other sessions, so let's do that too. Cynthia, what was the What's your question around iPad? It looks like rendering on,
Oh, I have some, and I have an old iPad I tried it on. It just, you can't navigate, you can't see that page if you go to that link.
okay,
But if you're on a newest version of the operating system, it works. So, I'm just not wondering if you have any insight.
if it's definitely the operating system, so you do have to have the latest, I don't know if it's the latest, but I think it's the last like 2 or 3 versions of the iOS.
Have you tried Chrome? Because you can download the Chrome browser for iPad.
Okay,
And
that's what I
sometimes-
should tell people. I
Yeah.
have, especially school library media, people think they just have some old iPads they're using, and then so we don't have access.
So they're using,
If you're using
The
Safari, yeah.
Yeah, Safari, okay. And I'll just put that somewhere. All of them.
and if it will, like some of the iPads are too old to update to the latest software, and
Yes.
some are not. So if they're able to do any software updates, I'll help too. But I know, we use what we have.
Yes, thank you, that's helpful. And just let them know that person, the Canvas folks, straight from the Canvas. Because moving it, I like even the toolkit in Canvas because it promotes usage. You can see how people use it.
Yeah. All right. Brooke, did you want to share? So thinking grade, homework?
Yeah, Darlene's up there. I don't know if she can
Okay,
be unmuted or not.
that's fine. I can read what you have. That's perfectly fine. And then if I have questions, I'll let you know. So I have previously when syncing grades, Canvas gave helpful information like the number of assignments being synced and error messages on that screen. Example, name too long with the option to revise it while syncing. Are you trying to sync directly from the grade book? Is that what's happening? Okay, so you're going straight in from the grade book. If you go to your, I'm not familiar with what it looks like prior to a few months ago. So if someone who's been using that sync longer can talk about that. If it does look different, we can talk about that. But I know that, sorry, I don't have a power, it's too bright for us. If you go to your, do my in here mind if I go in their instance? Display it.
Go ahead.
Okay, what's your instance? I'm sorry.
Internet.
Thank you. Okay. So when you go into any course, I'm just gonna pick something random and hope it works. When you go into any course, when you go to that monitoring and reporting link, you'll see that same information. So if you're not getting, if there's something you're not seeing there, when you go here, you're gonna get there aren't any syncs on this, but you'll get drop-down carrots for each item that will explain all those details on what's missing and what's not working. So you'll get the grade category warning there. You'll get the assignment name category or information there as well.
And then she's asking, as an admin, can she see this? Or is it just, yeah.
Yep, you can go into any course and see it as an admin, absolutely. But teachers can see it too. So if you have a lot of teachers who are not sure why their sync isn't working or something's not going back, teaching them special will be very helpful there. They are going into that link too. Does that answer your question for you, Darlene?
She does not see the monitoring.
It may be called Grade Sync. The newer link, if your instance was created in the last little bit, will be called Grade Sync. Have you seen that one? Yes, Grade Sync will have to stay on. Thank you for that invitation, but that's true. Grade Sync will have to be in the. I don't think students see that, do they? There are certain ones that if you move them to,
Yeah, if you go to student view in a course, you should be able to see if that appears. I
don't think it does, but we can look. But there's certain ones that use that that navigation cue as to whether or not you want it enabled, and that's one of them. So if you move it below, you're saying you don't want to use it in the course, so that's why. It has to be up top, but I don't think students see it. Let's double check. Yeah, they don't see it. So that may just be one that has to be communicated out, that that's not visible to students as it is. And they should be able, if it goes away and they can't see it, they can just pull it right back up. No dead.
In their course settings, right?
So if you're reporting out to if teachers are saying things aren't happening right and they're not seeing that grade sync button, just tell them to pull it back up.
All right. So I know we had said we were going to break at 11:45 for lunch. Any other questions?
Anybody else have anything that you wanted to chat about before you get to eat? Well, thank you very much for spending your mornings with me. I'm sorry that I don't have more riveting things for this afternoon, but I'm glad that you get a chance to go in a couple of different sessions.
Yeah.
Or you can come back and talk about it again.
Yes. And for those of us online, thank you for joining us. I will end the webinar and we will not come back after lunch since Jamie has finished her material, but I encourage you to reach out to me or Jamie or Christy or your CSM team, and we'll be happy to answer any follow-up questions that you have, as always.
Thank you.
And for those of you going to NC Ties, there is a Canvas pre-conference session on the pre-conference day. So please feel free to reach out to join us. And then there's also a feedback survey. We would love to hear your information about how the session was today, so that way we can improve and keep growing for the future. Especially you guys online, I'm always curious to know how the online experience was. So hopefully you felt like you could participate. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you all.